everybody makes mistakes. No matter what you're doing, you're going to make mistakes. The key is, are you learning from that mistake? Is it helping to improve you, or are you trying to hide it away because of some insecurities that you have?
It's so easy to get trapped in the bitterness trap, right? And somehow you made it to the other side where you're able to take responsibility. Welcome to the Rethreading Lives podcast, where we talk about how to take your threads of harm and through the rethreaded process, transform them into something that actually helps you reach your potential. We'll talk with different leaders in our city and our country and find out what they're doing. You'll walk away from listening to this podcast with useful insights and captivating stories on how you yourself can rethread your life and your business. I'm Kristen Keene, and this is the Rethreading Lives podcast. Welcome to Rethreading Lives podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode. It's one of my favorite people. For those of you who don't know, the Rethreading Lives podcast is that we meet with deeply good progressive leaders and we have a conversation about how they've walked through hard things, how the events in their life have built into them and created them and allowed them to reach their potential. And the Rethreaded process is taken from over 30 years of experience of walking with women who've experienced human trafficking reclaim their life. And what we've done is gather all that information, and we have 5 ingredients. And now we're talking to other leaders who are using this process, even though they didn't know they were using it. We feel like it's this universal truth that leaders are using these elements and expanding their sphere and reaching their potential. So today we have Joel Chamberlain, and I get to introduce you. At another point in the podcast, I'm going to read your bio, but I get to do your personal intro. So Joel and I met the year that we started Rethreaded, and I actually hadn't met him yet. We were starting Rethreaded, and one of our board members, our original board members, my friend, called you up and said, hey, would you do their 501c3? So Joel's firm applied for our nonprofit permit from the government, 501c3. And you allowed us, I think you funded that part too, because we didn't have any money. And you were kind of like the first person to say, yes, I believe in this. And I think we met after that. And then Joel served on our board, and you were an amazing board member. I'll never forget. You were leaving. You were finished with your board stint, and you said to the next board, your job is to encourage Kristen and make sure that she does this. I mean, and then Joel, when he was on our board, it was so much fun to have you on our board for a variety of reasons, but you embraced it all. So the favorite story, the Joel story that is still like legend at Rethreaded, is that we were working an event at the Church of 1122 at Hope's Closet. Yes. And Joel knew that. And it was 2 of our women that were in the program, and Joel showed up at the event. And I feel like there's a story around that you were trying on hats.
We were trying on clothes, yes, and hats and outfits. We had fun.
Yeah. And that's just who you are. And then I would love to explore the other stories. I don't know if you want to talk about those, but your experiences of really like how compassion for women that you see on the streets changed, and kind of how your viewpoint of that changed, and some of the stories that how you directly impacted women then that you would see on the street. It's beautiful. Yes. So Joel is also one of my favorite people because he's like a paradox, because he's a accountant. So he's like numbers and, organized and scheduled and works so hard. And he's an entrepreneur. I still don't fully understand how you hold those two, but you do. He's run his own accounting firm, and now he runs his own, I don't even know what you call it. Wealth management company. And he's also helping me navigate that part of my life. So I'm so excited to have you today, because you're one of my favorite deeply good progressive leaders who's changing the world.
So honored to be here and be part of the Rethreaded story. It's great.
You are such an important part of the Rethreaded story. You were like, I remember when it was Jonathan White, who's my
Yes.
friend. He's like my friend. I mean, like he's in my inner circle of friends. He was on the board and he goes, I think it's time for me to step down from the board. And he's like, but you're going to get an upgrade. He's like, I'm going to invite Joel to be on the board.
It was great that he introduced us, and it changed my life for the positive as well. Just
Which I
hearing
love.
your story, coming back from India and having this passion to launch Rethreaded here in Jacksonville, just it blew me away. I couldn't say no. So
What years were you on it?
I don't remember what years those
You were
were,
young, though.
but I was young. I had 2 young girls.
Yeah.
So it just really your story touched my heart. And I'm like, how can I help? And one thing we can do to help is fill out government forms. And you needed that help, and it worked out great. So
that was like 13 years ago. So what does your life look like now? Like, kind of paint us a picture who you are. What does your life look like?
life is great. So running some businesses, have an amazing wife, 2 amazing daughters. One's 19, one's 15, and just enjoying all the different seasons of life that we've been going through, and just feel very blessed and fortunate.
And so, gosh, when we started Rethreaded, you had like little nuggets. They were little.
Yes.
My gosh. Tell me a little bit, paint like a faith picture as well, because I know faith is a big picture. And then, like, what do you like to do with your time, your life, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, I think I grew up with some faith. My grandfather was a pastor, retired pastor,
I didn't
and
know that.
he instilled a lot of biblical principles into me. But then, kind of did my own thing for a couple decades, and kind of just explored my own way in this world, and then eventually, kind of through the help of my dad and some good friends, just kind of came back to those biblical roots, and just really kind of build my life on the right structure, which I think is um, kind of God, family, and then work, kind of in that order, where I think I had it built not in that order before, and it was causing problems.
I did not know your grandfather was a pastor.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you like grow up going to hear him preach? And did you go to his church?
He was retired at that time, so he was living off Dunning Causeway down there by you. And
I forgot that we were from the. Why do I always forget? You've told me so many times that we grew up in the same city.
yes.
Oh, and on Dunedin Causeway.
Yeah, and some of those early formative years, I spent with my grandparents fishing and just doing fun activities, and they were instrumental, I think, in some of those early development in my life.
You are a very successful businessman. You have been married. How long have you been married?
20 years.
20 years. You're raising 2 amazing daughters. I feel like your faith recently has like come to even more alive. And you invest into the community. You take such good care of people. You you are a person that people would look to. And I know that your road has not been a straight, I mean, none of our roads are straight lines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can you just kind of talk us through kind of where does Joel come from? Kind of your roots and your family. Um, and kind of what was built into you as childhood, or if there wasn't, maybe something wasn't built in you in childhood and you've had to learn, and that is part of your process of you've had to learn what wasn't built into you. So kind of maybe start us back there. It sounds like your grandparents were an influence in your life.
Yeah, I had a great grandparents. I had great parents that loved me. Great brother, great aunts and uncles.
Older or younger brother?
Older brother.
Older brother,
Yes.
you're the baby.
Yes.
Okay. Entrepreneurial makes a little bit more sense then. Okay.
Great cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, great support group. Was it all perfect and rainbows and up and to the right? No. But I think I've chosen through my life to focus on the positives. And I think that when we're positive and we're forgiving and we're accepting, I think we're more likely to reach a better outcome. I've kind of found that in my life, so I've been focused on that. But yeah, it's been a great life.
So where does that come from? Where does your ability and how do you focus on the positive, and kind of part of the rethreaded process is like eh, being honest about what is, and how do you balance then, like, here's some stuff in my life that was hard. This is how it was. And then positivity, and still walk through it.
Yeah, I think it helps looking back and seeing that I've made it through these things in my life, and um, I'm better off. I've learned something from it. Not all learning comes through positive situations. A lot of learning comes through negative situations, negative experiences, what not to do. And are you open to that learning in your life? What am I through this difficult season? What am I learning? How am I growing? How am I becoming a better person? And I think if you have that attitude, it's going to help you through those valleys much more.
Do you have an example that you can walk us through with that?
Yeah, I've had, like everybody, difficult experiences. I think I've shared with you before, that my father struggled for most of my life with substance abuse and alcohol specifically. And, but I had the other support systems building me up.
Mm.
I could focus on that, those difficult times with my father, or I could focus on, wow, I had amazing grandparents and I had amazing aunts and uncles and amazing cousins and a great mom and a brother and friends that carried me through those times. And I've chosen to focus on those. And as I got older in life, my dad changed his life around. And when I was in college, and really became a positive influence on me and part of the man I am today. So it it helps with that forgiveness and grace, carrying that through your life, even through those difficult situations.
I know, because it's so easy to get trapped in um, the bitterness trap, right? And
Yeah.
somehow you have made it to the other side where you're able to take responsibility and admit what is. And then I still want to know how you love your kids, your girls so much. Like when we were out to breakfast and your daughter was supposed to come, and you're like, yeah, but she was up late the other night and I feel like she needed to sleep. And then she called you during the breakfast and you were talking to her on the phone to her, and you're like, it's okay, sweetie. I love you. And I'm so looking forward to seeing you at lunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you're the best dad. So like where does your commitment, even though maybe part of it was absent and you didn't have sisters, which is I also
Yeah.
find you have all girls now. How did that develop inside you to do things differently?
Yeah. I think I've always wanted to be, an amazing parent. And I've had some great mentors over the years. I think I share with you one, or Bennett Brown shared with me, kind of count the number of summers until my daughters turned 16, because that's the time I have with them. And I've always wanted to be um, present in their lives. I have worked hard. I have had my own business for that entire time. I have been an entrepreneur, but I've been present when I've been with them, and I've been there for the important times. And I think my wife Stacy has done a great job encouraging me of that. I don't have to be at the entire 6-hour dance recital, but the two times during that recital when my daughter was on stage, I was in the crowd and I was cheering and I was clapping and I was yelling the loudest,
Mm.
being there for her.
And tell me, So part of the rethreaded process is time. And time we're defining as this is your currency to reach your potential. This is your currency to heal. And it is a lot of people don't like time because in order to reach your potential and heal, you have to sit with uncomfortable things. Um, can you talk a little bit about your journey with time? Because I was so struck. I remember you telling me, and it had to have been some of the first times we met. And maybe it was at a Rethreaded board meeting. I don't know, but I remember you saying that I count the summers of my daughters, and I count it, and I make summers count.
Yes.
And we always do something.
Some big fun trips.
Big fun trip.
I missed a lot of the board meetings in the summer.
Because you were on your
I'd
big
call
fun.
in.
Yeah. Big fun trip. So, can you talk with me a little bit? I think that I'm assuming that people listening to this struggle with time, like the pressure of running your own business, your marriage, your kids. And I think deeply good progressive leaders really think about their relationship with time. What's kind of been your journey, and do you have with time, and what's kind of shaped it and how you spent it, and what some wake up calls and lessons and
Yeah, it's taken me a while to kind of put into words, I guess, what my view on time and how I look at it. I think first, to start off, if you have a product or service that is in a high demand, it's going to require a lot of time.
Mm.
So we've created a unique product or service in our business that is in demand. We are not transactional. So if you want to just get, for example, your tax return done someplace and you're looking to get it done fast and cheap and not get any advice, we're not the right fit for you. However, if you're growing your business and you need better financial data to help you make decision making, if you're have assets that you're trying to invest and you need somebody on your team helping you analyze investment decisions, doing some of those calculations with you, alongside of you, if you're doing some family planning and structuring things for the next generation or eventually to sell your business, we're the right group for you. And that requires a lot of time. So we have developed services that society needs. And I learned that at a young age. Kind of back on some of my story, we didn't grow up wealthy. I didn't grow up wealthy. So if I wanted things, I had to figure out how to pay for them.
Mm.
I found out at an early age, the best way to do that is to offer a product or service people want to buy, whether that be a certain candy at school or a certain pencil or accessory that people wanted. And I was selling them. I was a hustler. And then that transitioned, into later in life. So time has been a challenge, I think, at first. I think what I've done is structured my work that it's still in the right order. So I go to work usually early, and then I'm home and I'm present with my family at dinner time, and I'm there in the evenings, and I'm involved in the girls with their homework, and I'm involved with what's going on in their lives. So I'm gone early in the morning while they're asleep, so they don't really know that I'm gone, but I'm gone on those times. And then making those priorities, I've built my schedule around having those big summer breaks, and it's I think this summer we were maybe home 2 weeks this summer, but other summers it's been a month or something, and we've done some great trips, whether it be up the East Coast of the United States history tour when the girls were younger to a beach condo for a month and just spending time as a family. So we've done those, made that time and make that availability. But my time commitment at work has been probably on the higher side, probably like a lot of your other entrepreneurs that you're talking to. But I've figured out how to make it balance and work where I'm not out of priority with my God, family, and work priority.
So what can you paint a picture of a season when this is when it was out of balance?
Yes.
And then here's some changes I made because I know the value of my time and I want to be intentional. Do you have a transition?
Yeah, it was out of balance earlier in my career for sure. So worked with some business coaches to really.
Really? So what does out of balance look like for you? I mean, I know you're such a friggin' hard worker. So what I can't imagine how much you were working, but what does the out of balance part look like? Like, what did that look like for you?
I think the year it was out of balance, I probably worked every weekend through like August or something, like January through August. And I said, this is
It's too much.
something, yeah,
Mhm.
something's got to fix. So,
So you
again,
asked for
oh,
help.
yeah, brought in an expert, brought in someone who's been through this, brought in someone who's grown a, grown a successful business and
Mm.
practice, dealt with the same things that I was dealing with, whether that be hiring, whether that be training, whether that be systems, processes, all that stuff. So brought in the right experts and worked with several different business coaches over the years that has been instrumental in the progression of our firm. It's been great.
And then what had to happen inside you to do that though? Because I feel like there has to be a heart change along with
Yes.
like an outward change, because part of why there's something inside you that's driving you to this, that's making you unbalanced. I mean, what are some of the changes that happened?
Yeah. Wanting to be a good father, right. And a good husband. And, having a father that was absent a lot when I was younger, that pushed me not to be that father, right?
Mm,
And alcohol can be a reason you're absent, but work can be a reason you're absent. It could
right.
be healthy things, right? It could be golfing with the
Mm,
boys or whatever that vice is that's taking priority over that what should be your priority.
mm. So it was like your vision, your purpose. I will be present to my family.
Yes.
And that was your filter.
Yes.
Mhm. I remember a season with you. You were tired and you went away like on a men's retreat
Yes.
into the woods.
Yes.
and you came back, and I feel like, I mean, we don't see each other all the time, but I feel
Yes.
like that weekend, I don't know what happened, was something significant happened to you that weekend.
Yes. I think that helped me really
And
prioritize.
there was a shift.
Yes, Charles Martin uh,
Mm.
led led that group of men from Jacksonville.
Mhm.
We all went up to it was North Georgia or North Carolina or went up to this camp, and it was just a great camp to get refocused and reprioritized, and kind of a lot of that came out of that weekend. That was great.
And what shifted there? Just a reminder?
Yeah, and then that kind of ownership, accountability, and responsibility.
What to
So
explain what that is, because I
yeah.
like those words.
So it is up to me to make those changes, right?
Mm.
You can't just say I'm the subject to, well, work's busy. Well, work's always going to be busy.
Oh.
How are you going to take the ownership and the accountability and the responsibility to
Ooh.
make it where your priorities are in line? So
Ooh.
really started adopting that and dropping the what you typically hear is what we call blame, excuse, and denial.
Mm.
And I think it's been instrumental not only in our firm, it's been instrumental with our hiring, our training, identifying the right team members, kind of the traction model, the right seats in the bus, and finding people that have that similar outlook that they're just not going to make excuses or blame others or deny that there's areas that they can improve in. Really just adopt those areas. I'm going to improve in this, and here's how I'm going to do it.
Oh, y'all, we're gonna break this down a little bit, because this is so good though. Because I feel like this is it, you were talking about the rethreaded process, and I, if you struggle with this, the balance, the pressure, I feel like blame and shame could be at the core of that. Like, driven in your work to succeed. Sometimes it's attached to your worth. Sometimes it's a pressure to take care of your family. Whatever the reason, the blame and shame. So the way that you're handling it in your life, what did you say? There's 3 things.
Ownership, accountability, and responsibility.
And is there definitions to those words, or that's just like, what does that mean to you when you say that?
It's up to me to
It's up
make
to
the
you.
change. It's up to me to have the positive attitude. It's up to me to forgive. It's up to me to share the fruit of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, patience, kindness, long suffering. It's up to me to adopt those and to live those out in my interactions with clients, and my interactions with our team members, and our interactions with family and friends. It's up to me.
So good. I needed to hear this today. So, I mean, I can think back when I was running Rethreaded. It was actually relatively miserable because I was running at 80,000 million miles per hour and kind of shrouded in excuses and blame and shame. And I think that I hear that a lot from people, that I'm just so busy. Everything's so busy. Everything's so busy. I have too much to do. Everything's just so busy. And right, busyness is kind of linked to blame. I feel like it can be really linked to blame and shame, and an excuse that allows you to stay there
Yes.
instead of saying, yep, I'm busy, but I'm not going to let busyness control me.
Correct.
I'm going to take ownership, responsibility, and make changes.
Yes.
I feel like when Stephanie was on the show, I mean, what I've learned from a part of what I've learned from Stephanie's life, Stephanie is,
Yeah.
she said, trauma isn't my crutch. It's not my excuse.
Yes.
Like, I can take ownership of my trauma and control the next chapter in my story.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
And
look at the successes that she's had. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And she's so strong now. And so where did you learn that from?
That was through a business coach. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That was through a business coach.
Credit action coach. Yeah. Brad Sugars. That was probably mid-late 2000s. Yeah. Powerful.
To mid-late 2000s. So that was before we met then. Before Rethreaded.
I don't know if it was. Maybe I've got my dates wrong.
I don't know. I don't know either. You're talking to the wrong person for details. I want to talk with you a little bit about purpose. Because all deeply good progressive leaders they have a deep sense of what their purpose is. And when at Rethreaded, we're talking about how purpose is your act of love into the world. Like, it is your specific way that you were created to bring love. So like you bring love in your business, you bring love in your relationship with Stacy, with your kids. First of all, do you have words to your purpose? Like, my purpose is to envision and activate the potential inside people, which is why I make you do things like this podcast. Because you have something to say to the world, Joel.
Yes. I love helping people. So mine's pretty simple. I love helping people, and I love helping entrepreneurs. And many entrepreneurs get into business because they're great at something, but they don't really understand, right? The finance, the accounting, the technology, the systems, all that stuff, the estate planning, the investment planning, none of that stuff. So I think our role is really to help them, to kind of be their strategic advisor, someone they know they can count on. And we're trying to give them advice that we'd give our friends and family. And that's just how we've built our business, essentially. We don't do a lot of marketing. We don't do a lot of promotion and advertising. We just serve our clients with excellence, and they tell others. And it's really been our story.
So as I'm listening to you, because I feel like help is a generic term, because I feel like what you do in your life, you might have to help me give words for this a little bit, is that maybe you help put structure around potential so people can go further.
Yeah, definitely help them further.
Yeah.
We use an analogy. We help them look through the windshield instead of looking through the rear view mirror. A lot of accountants live in the rear view mirror. You're getting reports from your accounting firm that are dated, that are in the past. Well, what's predicting your future? What are those key performance indicators that are going to help show what your revenue and your growth and your profit's going to be next quarter? Those are what you should be tracking. And it could be some simple things, a handful of simple key performance indicators. And a lot of business owners haven't thought of them, or they're not tracking them. And the minute you start testing and measuring something, guess what? It gets better, right? Test and measure anything in your life, whether it's fitness or anything you're trying to do. When you're recording it and testing it and measuring it, it's going to get better. So we help business owners with that, and the results speak for themselves.
Well, it's kind of like the process. Sorry. We talk about how blame and shame keeps you in the past. Taking responsibility and ownership moves you forward.
Yes.
It's that can be so much in business too, right?
Yes.
As if you're looking backwards and worried and all this stuff instead of looking forward and how am I going to protect, how am I going to move forward?
Yes.
You can be successful.
Yes.
I'm just getting all these little nuggets today. But I also feel like that's not normal accounting as well.
No, I think we've, again, got a unique service offering for the community, and that's why we have been so busy and have been growing. Is we're providing a service people need.
And I feel like you do that in your family. You
Yes.
are raising your daughters to have control over their future.
Yes.
Because of what you're investing in them.
Yeah, I'm challenging them to maybe not follow the typical course that we have laid out in America for children. I'm challenging them to, they laugh at me, but every time we get into like a long car ride or a family trip or something, I whip out some paper with some questions, and it's great questions. Like, what business would you start if you knew you couldn't fail? Right? What are some unique products or things that you wish were out there that you don't have right now? Like, just get them thinking about things that an entrepreneur would think about. Great entrepreneurs solve problems, right? And they provide products and services people want. It's pretty simple. So when you boil it down to that, and getting a teenager to think about those things really expands their horizon. I mean, I don't have to just go to school for how many years and then go work in a cubicle somewhere and follow this path. No, you don't. You can chart your own path. You can do whatever you want. So that's the beauty about this country and our opportunities here.
I love this so much. You're expanding their sphere of potential. I love it so much.
Yes. And sometimes they go along with it. Sometimes they're like, Dad, do we have to do the questions again?
Yes.
Yes, we're updating your questions from last time. Because they're a year old. Now we have to update them.
Here comes the accountant. See, this is the entrepreneurial accountant balance right there. I love it. So what do you want for your daughters?
I'm challenging and encouraging them both to be entrepreneurs. Yeah, I think entrepreneurship has been great. Best thing I've ever done. It's expanded me. It's grown me as a person. It's grown me as a human being. It's given me opportunities and experiences that I could never have if I was just an employee. So I'm encouraging them to do the same thing.
What is it? What have you learned and instilled? Like, why do you think what effect has it had on you?
Oh, I can't measure the effect, like the growth, the experiences, the exposure to so many different businesses. That's the beauty about what we do, is we get to see how so many different companies make money, service their clients with excellence, provide products or services that are in demand in the marketplace. And so it really expands your knowledge and about so many things.
But
Why do I want them to be an
No,
entrepreneur?
I was going to say most parents don't want that because it causes uncertainty in the lives of their children. And most parents would never say to raise their child up to be an entrepreneur because you go to college, you get a steady job, and you stay in the cubicle. Like,
False security is what I call that.
false security.
We're on a rock floating through the atmosphere right now. Yeah, what we see and touch around us makes us feel secure, but there's no security, there's no certainty about tomorrow, right? So I think they should live their life to the best of their ability and get as many experiences as they can, get as much growth as they can, and bless and touch as many people in a positive way that they can. I think they can do that through entrepreneurship.
So it's kind of like your purpose. Like somehow your purpose and your vision of life is intertwined with your philosophy of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's forward thinking, it's moving.
Yes.
It allows you to independently affect the world
In a positive way.
in a positive way on the terms that you want to create. How have you seen like your accounting firm change a lot? Like, how do you use your business to change? Let's say take your employees. Like, how have you used your business to positively affect your employees?
That's been a great experience, and I think the employees have positively affected us as
Amen.
well. So
Yeah.
I think we're a little different in that we're not top down, we're kind of bottom up, I would say, for our firm. So our employees have influence over a lot of our processes, a lot of the ways we do things. If there's a better way to do something, we want to hear it. So I think we've challenged and created a culture of innovation and improvement through our systems and our processes and everything like that. Also, we've encouraged all of our employees to be involved in the community, whether through some of our give backs that we do. We usually do like a quarterly give back some way into the community. And that can be financial or it could be a volunteer opportunity. And those, again, are usually employee led. Um, so they're bringing us these opportunities and ideas, and we're getting behind them and supporting them as a group. So it's been great. We've created a great culture. It takes a lot of work. Um, you have to work on it. You have to be intentional about it through your hiring process and firing process. Unfortunately, if someone's not the right fit, they can, um, you know, could harm the company culture. So you have to have processes that say, you know what, you may not be the right fit here. Let us help you find your calling or the place that you're the right fit.
So even in letting a person go, there's care of the person.
Care and empathy. Yeah.
So can you pay, I always ask more practical because like I want to know how to do it.
Oh, okay.
So like you say your culture is top down and you want to change a process, like that you give their input in the process. So how does that look in your company? Like, do you weekly meetings, 15-minute morning meetings? Like how are you giving your employees a voice in your company for that?
Yeah, we're doing the traction and the EOS process. We do that company
Yes.
wide.
We're going to put that on the book list. Traction. It will change the way you run your business. It's great.
Yeah, it is great. So we run that process, and then we also have team meetings. So we break off into different teams, whether depends on what kind of team you are inside the organization. And a lot of those improvements and changes come through the team process. I showed up at our tax season kickoff meeting, and we had team members up there presenting new processes for the first time. They're new to me too. Like I didn't approve them or say, "Hey, no, this is the process we're doing." They said, "Here's the best process. We've talked to other firms. We have worked on it together internally as a team, and this is the best process. This is more efficient." And our partner group said, "Great, let's run with it." Present it at the kickoff meeting, and we'll all adopt it. So we get behind our team in those areas, which has been great.
And as a CEO, are you CEO now?
No, Shelly is.
So what are you now in the company?
Just a partner.
I don't even know what that means in the world. I was like, I don't know how to be a partner. Something that I'm questioning in my leadership right now is sometimes as a leader, I feel like I have to have all the answers. And I think that collapses my sphere and the ones around me because there's not a space. So how did you figure out? I mean, that's a very interesting balance to hold in leadership, is to like hold a high level of leadership, create space. I mean,
Yeah. I think you've got to first kill. This is how we've always done it.
ooh,
That attitude has to be gone quick. And then I think you have to adopt that, you know, interesting. This is interesting. This is new. This is, going to help us. I think if you have that mentality instead of this is how we always have done it, you can make a lot of progress. And then be open and allow the employees to give the feedback, the team members to give the feedback. What's working? What's not working? And I'm talking. We've had new team members come in and say, hey, at our other firm, we use this process and it was so much better. And they'd been with us for a few months and we're like, show us. They showed us and we adopted it. So we're just like, we'll switch to what's going to be more efficient in serving our clients with excellence. That's when it comes down to the end of the day. We're trying to serve our clients with excellence. We're not trying to perfect a process. It's what is the tool, the software, the resources we can do to serve our clients with excellence.
and somehow in that process, you've created a culture where people aren't trying to prove themselves.
Feel accepted. They feel loved. They feel
Yeah.
part of a team, and they feel like they have the ability to make mistakes or to challenge some things and try to get improvements. It may not always go great, but guess what? We're gonna make some adjustments and keep going, right?
Mm. And that's probably really good leadership, right? To hold capacity, to be open to change. So a lot of my struggle is like, well, my worth becomes really entangled with my business. And like, I created this. I'm not very good at creating systems, but but what I'm talking about is sometimes my ownership doesn't allow me to be open to receive new things from my coworkers, even though they're in the trenches. And I can see that. I think as leadership, though, you have to be able to hold it and put your ego, like there is no ego
Yeah, there's no I in
when you're
team.
open. Yeah.
There's no I in
To
team.
be open, to hold it,
Yeah.
even though it's not my idea.
Yeah, that's difficult. But if you realize that it can expand you and grow you, I think it's worth the risk.
Mm. You are entrepreneurial to your core, because that's a very entrepreneurial thing, to be open to new ideas and change as well. By the end, we're going to have like your specific words for your purpose. It's not just to help people. You have it's more. I feel like God is more specific with his kiddos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love some help with that.
He
See, I'm open to
creates
help.
he creates that specific purpose inside you. You can be in the same room with someone and they're not present.
Yeah, I think the
And a
key
present dad, present parent.
yeah, the key is when you're there, you're focused on them, whether that and you're really leading by example, right? So how am I treating Stacy in front of the girls? What am I modeling for them for their future husband? Am I present? Am I focused on what's going on in the girl's life, or am I playing on my phone? And then, we opened our house up to be the fun house for the kids, right? The zip line, the trampoline, the sweets and treats, right? We wanted them all hanging out at our house. So, how am I modeling being a dad for some of those girls that are over at our house that may not have a father that's present? So I kind of realized that through discussions with Stacy, where she's like, so and so doesn't have the life that we have, and just being more present there when I'm with the kids, trying to be the fun dad and the dad that's involved.
I'm laughing because didn't you tell me some story about never, I can't put it all together about trying to be the fun, cool dad and it didn't go well?
Oh no, yeah. I fail miserably. I am an accountant, but I am
That's
an
what I was
accountant,
like.
so I'm not that cool. Cool and accountant never went well together.
No. I bet if you ask their daughters, they'd think you're cool.
I don't know.
I think so. No, because I mean, that's why we need community, right? Because community teaches you how to live. I mean, that's why at Rethreaded, we choose also to work side by side with each other and learn from each other. And I think that women come and they get to experience, women will say it over and over again. I've never had female friends who I feel like cared about me.
Wow.
I've never had someone walk with me through this. So it's like modeling for the first time, maybe ever, what it looks like to be in community with people and love each other. So
Yes.
it's one of my it's my most favorite thing about Rethreaded, right?
Yeah.
Is to get to learn and be with each other.
Yeah,
And
you've really built that community.
yeah, and it's the same within your family though. And I see that if a person is not being intentional with how they use their time, intentionally living in community, intentionally being open, that you could be around people and not be in community.
Yes.
You could be all these things and not be reaching your potential, even though you're surrounded by what looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's kind of our world sometimes, right?
Yeah. I think you've got to have that intention and purpose that are driving those actions and decisions. Yes.
And a vision. You had a vision for what you want your family to do, what you wanted to be like,
Yes.
and you intentionally reach it. And I wonder if the families that I know that I intimately know and are, I don't know, I'm not going to say successful, but they are intentionally setting what they want their family to be like. And they want their family to affect the world in this way. So then they take ownership and responsibility and they build it. And they
Yes.
build it into their kids. And it's awesome. I mean, my parents also loved me amazing. I don't know if they had the vision, I think, of to what they were building
Yeah.
a
I
lot.
think it's been a lot of Stacy's calling, and I've really just kind of
Mhm.
partnered with her through that. But she's always had, different groups that meet at our house and throughout the girls' lives, and been kind of the one to love to host the parties and be involved in the kids' life, and really use our house kind of as a ministry with that.
Mm.
You know
And she
how to
has a closet full of presents.
Yes, the present closet, and she loves to give, so it's always blessing others, and she's really led that.
And what does that look like now in your I mean, you've had some cool stuff happen in your marriage lately.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great. So we've, now the girls are older, we've kinda transitioned to, we have a disciple group that, we meet with that's, 18 to 25, which is a really critical age. There's a lot of transition there. I think that was a really critical time for me in my life
Mm.
to really figure out who I was as a man. You're either in the early part, maybe you're in college or trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, or you've just recently finished college and starting your career, or just maybe in your career. And through some happenstance circumstances in my life, that I ended up in my early 20s actually living with my grandfather for a period of time.
Who I didn't know was a minister.
This actually was my other
Oh, your other
grandfather.
grandpa.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, this was my other grandfather on my mom's side.
On your mom's.
And
Okay.
I lived with him. He was in his 90s. I was in my 20s. And at the time, it was awkward. We were completely different generations, completely different phases of life. But I would pay any amount of money to go back and do that again. It was the best, one of the best experiences of my life. He taught me how to be a man during that very critical transition period from kind of young adult to adulthood. And I credit him and my uncle for really kind of taking me under their wing, being my mentors, and helping me really become the man I am today. So that's been great.
What did they teach you?
Just so many life skills. I think just basic life skills.
Like how to cook or like how to navigate a situation?
Yeah, how to navigate decision making, and
What did they teach you about decision making? I need to know this, Joel.
well, I think I shared before. So
Mhm.
my dad wasn't that present when I was
Mhm.
growing up, so I did not have some of that, some of that one-on-one man to give you advice, right?
Mm.
If these circumstances are in these
Mm.
circumstances, this is how you want to handle this situation. And so they helped me everything from getting my first job, in professional accounting, practicing interviews with me, and,
Awesome.
helping me reviewing my resume, right? Helping me with basic things, and just basic things that you just take for granted,
Yeah.
that are awkward because you're doing them all for the first time, in that
Yeah.
phase of your life.
I mean, it's at Rethreaded. We do resume training. We do all this training because most of our women never had it their whole life. And it's very uncomfortable and very, it's like like an internally, like there's a lot of internal turmoil that happens during
Yeah, because you've
those.
never done it.
You've never done it. And you're
Purchasing your
putting,
first car.
yes, putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Were they with you when you purchased your first car?
It helped give me advice. Yeah,
Yeah?
how to do it
Kick
and
the
the
tires?
process. Yeah. So it was all that basic training that really helped me kind of in that transition period. Now, Stacy and I aren't doing some of that, but we're more focused on the spiritual grounding during that transition time for these individuals that are in 18 to 25-year-old going through a lot of that transition in life.
And this is the first time really that you and Stacey are doing together, right?
We have served together.
Uh-huh.
It was mostly with youth,
Mhm.
young children. So this is our first time, and we've been exploring some subjects that are a little more challenging than, say, elementary school youth. So it has been more challenging, and I think it's growing us and stretching
gonna
us and
say.
helping us. So you were saying before, like, what I've seen some growth in you, and I think this process has helped me grow. Again, all these things help you grow as a person. The entrepreneurial process, the um, you know, doing these new adventures help you grow.
Yeah. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes I just want to know something. I'm in like this period right now where I'm just like, it's a hard season of personal growth. And I sometimes just want to have the lesson done. And how have you avoided the trap of perfectionism?
That's hard in my profession, especially
Because you have to be
because it's very precise and exact. A lot of things with math and calculations and formulas. I think it's just knowing that everybody makes mistakes. No matter what you're doing, you're going to make mistakes. The key is, are you learning from that mistake? Is it helping to improve you, or are you trying to hide it away because of some insecurities that you have? So I think I've always adopted the I'm going to get better. I want to be better tomorrow than I was the day before, and just continue that continuous improvement.
and not your goal isn't perfectionism.
No,
Perfection.
'cause I know there's no such thing. It's never going to happen.
If you work hard enough, it
No, no
will.
such thing as perfectionism. It's a mirage. It's that
Mm,
water out there,
mm,
the steam you see out there in the desert. It's a mirage. You
mm.
strive for perfectionism, and you've missed so many nuggets and opportunities on the way to grow, to help others, to bless others, to focus on more important things.
Right. Because in the rethreaded process, openness is the ability to be honest and to admit what is. Mhm. And the aim of it can't be perfection. Before I ask the final questions, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Thank you. I was really nervous about this at first, but
But then you forget. It
I
feels,
forget that
yeah.
the microphone's here and
Okay, I do know what I want to talk about. Uh, so you have been one of the most powerful board members at Rethreaded. And I think part of it is because of your openness and your entrepreneurial, but a lot because your openness, because I feel like you honestly wanted to know about human trafficking, but you wanted to know the people.
yeah.
And I feel like you internalized it and you brought it to action.
Yes.
So I remember you telling me like you were pumping gas at a gas station, right? Can you tell that story and like what you observed? And I don't, it's so powerful to me because
Yeah.
you would have never done that before meeting our women at Rethreaded, I think.
Yeah. So I've had the opportunity because of Rethreaded, like you said, I've experienced pumping gas at a gas station and seeing someone who I suspect was involved in human trafficking and being able to talk to them and to say, hey, there's other options out there. Get in touch with Rethreaded.
Mm,
They'll point you in the right direction, or you have other alternatives. And both times has been very receptive. And they're like, I've heard about Rethreaded, or I know so and so who's told me about Rethreaded, or so there's been those opportunities. And I don't know that I'd have the courage to do that before being involved in Rethreaded and before getting to meet how amazing the women are, how much I've seen them grow and progress, and how blessed I feel just to be able to be a little part of that, right? To watch it from a distance and to congratulate them and to be cheering for them every time I see them, give them a high five or to say, "Man, you're doing awesome." Just encouraging them. And it's grown me, being part of Rethreaded has grown me so much. I remember that time you had us do the mock interviews, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, what an amazing interview. And they were all nervous. I think it was the first time that many of them had gone through and done an interview. And, I interview a ton of people every year. So to me, it was just, but they interviewed way better than than the average person, and they were nervous about it. So
mm,
it's just been such a great experience to be involved, and it's such an easy thing to share about Rethreaded too. I think the uniqueness of the Rethreaded model, where the gift giving, so it's kind of tied into two things that my family loves. We love to give gifts through Stacy. That's her thing. And to be able to give gifts with meaning and purpose and to bless people
mm,
at the same time has been, it's just been a great fit for our family. Rethreaded has been such a positive influence on our family.
mm.
Our daughters getting to be involved in some of the Rethreaded events and their friends and things like that. It's just been great. So thank you.
I love it. As I'm sitting here on this couch with you, I just, and especially like through this process of knowing you, and I feel like through this conversation, I have a deeper glimpse into Joel and how you came to Rethreaded at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Like the perfect time when I was so overwhelmed. But it just makes so much sense why God sent you at that time. You are, this is going to be your purpose. You are an entrepreneur of hearts.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's what you do.
Thank you. It's been, like I said, the perfect time for me as well. It
Yeah.
opened my eyes to something I really didn't know much about. I think it's become more open now, but when you first started, I don't think it was
Mm-mm.
talked about a lot. It
No,
wasn't talked about in business circles and in the community the way it is now. So
no.
thank you for taking that leap of faith. And thank you for having the courage to step out and to start something new and your entrepreneurial spirit that allowed, Rethreaded really to launch and become what it is today.
Mm. It's awesome to see our entrepreneurial spirits in action. Well, so we have people listening on this podcast who have families, business owners who maybe had a similar childhood. Maybe what what is your message to people that are listening today?
You can change.
Mm,
You can improve. You can grow. It does not have to be. Your past doesn't define you. It's just getting that focus of your family, God, family, and your business in that order, and focusing on those improvements and changes and things you need to do to take control of your life.
mm. Ownership,
Account-
responsibility.
yeah, ownership, accountability, and responsibility.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's powerful.
It will change your life and those around it. All right. Well, I'm just going to speak blessings over your family, over your business, over what you've instilled into your daughters
Oh,
and the young people you're working with, and just, yeah, that your influence would be expanded. Thank you
awesome.
for holding us all so well and being my brother.
Yeah. Thanks, sis.
Yep. um, yeah, that's all for today. If you have questions for Joel, if you have something you can relate to, we would love your comments. We would love a chance to respond to you. And you can leave a comment and we will get back to you. And until next time, folks, see ya.